Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. We'll be covering Quality Matters, just an introduction to Quality Matters. And before I get started with that, I wanted to go ahead and introduce everyone. There are four of us today, including Alice, now that you've met Alice. Alice is our moderator, so again, she'll be answering any questions as you go. And it looks like she just sent out the Quality Matters standard, so if you want to go ahead and save that somewhere, feel free to open that up while we're presenting. Thank you, Alice. Great job. I'll be presenting today the first few slides. I'm Michael Wilder, the Instructional Design Coordinator. And Rex, would you like to introduce yourself very quickly?
Good morning, all. I'm Rex Suba. I'll be the second of the three presenters, and I'm also an instructional designer here in the Office of Online Education.
Kevin, would you like to introduce yourself?
Good morning, everyone. I'm also an instructional designer, and I come from a former Quality Matters institution, so I'm a big believer.
Great, thank you, everyone. We're all currently going through a lot of training for Quality Matters, all of the instructional designers, and Kevin will talk a little bit more about the process. We're definitely interested in any faculty that are interested in becoming Quality Matters trained and certified. This is an important part of the process, is that faculty are very much part of this process. So if you're interested, we'll talk. We'd love to hear from you a little bit later. Here's our agenda today. We've just gone through introductions. We'll talk a little bit about what is Quality Matters and what are the main standards. What is the Quality Matters review process? Who reviews the courses? Who else subscribes to Quality Matters? What essential items are typically missing from online or hybrid courses? Rex will include that in his standards to some degree. And lastly, how can you participate in Quality Matters? And we'll have some time at the end for questions if you have any questions. So first, let's begin with a poll question. I'm kind of curious, we have quite a few participants today. How many have had any prior experience with Quality Matters? So if you'd go ahead and go up to your window to the left and select one of those, one of the letters, either A or B. Looks like we've got so far 8 no, but at least 1 yes. That's great. Good. And so this is Quality Matters isn't something that is just unique to UNLV. This is a nationwide program, worldwide actually. And so you may have had experience at another institution, as Kevin has mentioned. All right, thank you. I'm going to go ahead and move forward at this point. Go on to the next slide. First, I'd like to mention that Quality Matters is a nationally recognized faculty-centered, research-based peer review process. What does that mean? That means that faculty are an integral part of this process. This is not a program focused on some outside vendor. This is really something that the institution is involved with, that faculty are very much part of, and that it is also very much vetted through research. And is, a lot of studies have been done to back up a lot of these standards to make sure that these standards are empirically based. And it's also a peer review process, so it isn't somebody from outside of the institution that is conducting some review of you. No, it's the departments and the faculty and the Office of Online Education. We team up together to improve the quality of our online courses. Definitely not an evaluation per se. It is a process, and a collegial process in which everyone has the opportunity to be involved. And certainly the goal is to improve the quality of our online and hybrid courses. I want to make sure and identify that distinction that Quality Matters is currently implemented for online and hybrid courses and not face-to-face courses. Although we certainly believe that a lot of the standards could be applied in just about any educational setting. A lot of it makes sense. So as we go through this, you can take a look and see if you agree with this. But Quality Matters is not about passing judgment. It's not about evaluating you as a teacher, as we'll see in these next couple of slides. The focus is on course design and not about you as an individual. It's about how we can improve the quality of the design of the course. About quality, and quality is very important. Certainly we want our students to leave our courses with having obtained the outcomes that were stated in the objectives. So we want to see about, how can we look at improving the quality of our courses. So it's a diagnostic tool to facilitate continuous improvement. It's not something like, oh my gosh, I passed or I didn't pass. It's about a continuous process, and it's just a tool in which we can use to kind of learn more about our own courses, learn about how we can help you, learn how we can move forward. Courses are never described as having failed. It's a course has either met the standards or in the process of meeting standards. And we'll share with you, in fact, Alice has pushed out the Quality Matters rubric, and that a course meets the standards at 85% or better. And certainly, of course, it would be best if we met those standards at 100%. I'll share with you that most courses don't even go through a formal review until after 7 times of offering. And so it's not something that you would come out of the gate and expect that you have met 85% of the standards. It's something that is part of a process that we work towards meeting over time. Currently, you can see that just in the United States that there are many statewide subscribers. All of these yellow states, for example, Arizona, Washington, Texas. And then we have consortium subscribers. These are groups of higher education institutions rather than the entire state. Although Nevada currently is listed as a red state, meaning that there are individual subscribers, we're in the process of forming a consortium. And currently in Nevada, we actually have a consortium of UNLV and UNR, as well as Truckee Meadows, College of Southern Nevada, Western Nevada College. All of these institutions have already adopted the Quality Matters standards, and we are collaborating. Next poll question, and then I will hand this over to Rex. So let's just go ahead and get a quick informal response to this poll. Is your course ready for Quality Matters review? Thank you. And you can kind of probably guess that this is kind of a rhetorical question, but for some of you that have some experience with Quality Matters, okay, excellent, good. So let's, I'll go ahead at this point. We can stop the poll. We can see that the majority aren't sure. And so this next section of slides will provide you with some background so that you can know what are some of the standards within the Quality Matters rubric. All right, I'm going to go on to the next slide. Rex, thank you very much. If you'll go ahead and take it from there.
Thanks, Michael. If everybody can hear me okay, please indicate by raising your hand. Click on the raise hand icon. Okay, thank you very much. I will. Thank you, thank you. If you can have that document open, if you have room on your desktop, or if you have been able to print out the one-page PDF that shows on one page, on one side of a sheet of paper, the various general standards and the specific standards, we'll be able to shorten the amount of time that I go over each of the 8 general standards. That way I won't have to read each item to you. For consistency across all the participating institutions and entities, the rubric that's used has very general as well as specific standards and allows the implementing institutions, departments, faculty to have some kind of consistency in how they are seeing their courses and the applications. So if you're looking at the document now, you see that there are the 8 general standards, varying numbers of specific standards, and the point assignment to each of those. So if something has a 3, it's one of those items that is essential. It's considered to be one of those make or break. It has to have it in the course, or the standard must be applied to the course in some way to be able to meet that point assignment. 2 and 1 do not mean that they're optional. They're just less critical in terms of the essential status of that particular point. So we have the 8 standards, and these are shown in their order, and the order is as you are talking to people that have been using Quality Matters for a while, they can rattle these off the top of their heads. So there's a prescriptive order to align with the rubric and the specific sections of it. So the first one, as you see, course overview and introduction, its purpose is to set the tone for the course, let students know what to expect, and provide guidance to ensure that they get off to a good start. And so among the different specific standards, the 8 that are available, we'll just highlight some examples of the 2 that we'll show you for General Standard 1. The first of the 2 that I'll mention, and these are merely examples of what the possibilities are. They do not represent hard-nosed and the only choices that one may have. We have, as a way to help students learn about what is expected in a course, depending on the audience, you may find that a way to satisfy specific standard 1.1, instructions make clear how to get started and where to find various course components, could be satisfied with a scavenger hunt, which Chris Ditzler has devised for our art and science of teaching online, or a web quest where the students specifically go to various locations on the World Wide Web to gather information to support certain things. Now, of course, with a course, you'd have everything internalized, but for structure, you may want to investigate how people have constructed these using the web quest model. Another item that is among the specific standards under number 1 is etiquette, or for, of course, online courses, netiquette. And we provided an example of some tips that can be shared with students explaining the appropriate behavior for online discussions, email, and other forms of communication. When we are in a face-to-face environment, there are certain behaviors that are able to be expected as you're looking at your students and vice versa. However, how do you define that? And so part of the QM standard is to make sure that there is no ambiguity, or there's reduced ambiguity about what the expectations are for behavior or collegial behavior in a course. Moving on to Standard 2, learning objectives or competencies. There are 5 specific standards under this, and the learning objectives establish a foundation upon which the rest of the course is based. At some institutions, these are called outcomes. Now, we understand, and the people with Quality Matters understand that there are some objectives that are institutionally mandated, and so individual instructors may have less direct control over how the learning objectives are either stated or implemented. And so the broader QM documents, beyond just this one pager that you see, explain how you address that in terms of either an official review or an unofficial review. How do you arrive at learning objectives? Because sometimes we think of goals and competencies and objectives as all the same thing. If you have worked with us here in online education before, you've probably heard us talk about Bloom's, and so the taxonomy as depicted in this particular slide, outcomes measured are measurable and consistent with course level objectives. The terms that you can use to create objectives can align with some of the items that you have here. Moving on to standard 3, assessment and measurement. Assessment is implemented in a manner that not only allows the instructor a broad perspective on the student's mastery of the content, but also allows students to measure their own learning throughout the course. So some of the assessing of a student's progress is not only faculty or instructor focused, but may be student focused. So the activities you come up with are not just going to be things like quizzes or exams, but they're things that you create that help the students confirm their mastery of the content and or the concepts that are in the content. Among the ways that you have already maybe worked with us in online education about addressing these in a consistent manner is, for instance, using rubrics when you do discussion grading. So specific standard 3.3, specific and descriptive criteria are provided for the evaluation of students' work and participation and are tied to the course grading policy. So the wording of the specific standard helps you narrow how you are implementing this particular part of the rubric. So the activities that we are talking about, again, not just quizzes and exams, discussions, you can use them as a way to combine your student interactions that you are not able to do in an online environment like you can do in an officially hybrid or face-to-face environment. You can use the discussions to demonstrate the depth as well as the breadth of each student's understanding. Another way that you can address this particular standard with standard 3.5, among the choices would be a self-check. And so what we're showing here is one screen for a custom interactive that our division has created. I think it's used in psychology, and it's a drag and drop model type of interactive. The students have a low threat or low threshold activity where they drag the plus sign to the drawing and then more material shows up, and the students are able to practice in a way that doesn't assign a punitive grade. They can practice the concepts that they were presented in lectures, reading materials, presentations, or all of the above. Moving on to standard 4, instructional materials. The instructional materials form the core of the course, and these standards respect the instructor's prerogative in selecting them. The focus of the standard is on supporting the course objectives and competencies rather than qualitative judgments about the materials. So again, the consistency of the materials, not the instructor and how the instructor may be individually deploying the materials, is the focus of this particular standard. So how might you implement this particular standard? One way would be to have a start of unit video. So you have an introduction to either the course or a section of the course. Moving to Standard 5, learner interaction and engagement. Engaging students to become active learners contributes to the learning process and to student persistence. The students, when they are in an online course, have to internalize a lot of the motivation for their own learning that we often provide as a face-to-face or hybrid instructor. And so these learning interactions are really important in terms of what we're looking at. Now, not to overwhelm anybody, but our next screen will show a number of key words in a Wordle that illustrate ideas regarding learner interaction and engagement. So there are lots of possibilities of what you can come up with to have the students be actively participants, not just passive receivers of content and then returning the content demonstrations in the way we might do in an exam or a quiz. So you see projects, collaboration, interactivity. These are some of the ideas that you might be able to put to use to apply standard number 5. Moving on to 6, course technology. The technology enabling the various course components facilitates the student's learning experience and is easy to use rather than impeding the student's progress. As we are looking at ways to provide students a consistent experience not just within a course but across courses, we think should we perhaps group things so that not all of the possible choices in one course menu or one course collection are all on one screen. Those are the kinds of considerations that are looked at with Standard 6. We have 2 standards left to touch on. Number 7, learner support, very important for us because it's very much a detached technology-based way of delivering content. How do we provide the students access to things that will help them master the technology that they use to get and use the content? So in our current courses, we provide these various links to students. We have not just technical support, but learning support through the Academic Success Center for students that may receive services from the DRC. We provide information about what the process is to engage your support with that and for that. And finally, General Standard 8. Accessibility. And part of what the greater picture is about accessibility is not just about the students that are going to be requiring special accommodations because of auditory or visual concerns. A lot of the discussion is about making access greater and more convenient for all. And so I've shown this particular button that we see on outside of buildings. And so not only does the button assist those who require assistance for opening and closing doors, but those of us that are more ably equipped, if we are rolling or carrying a box, we're also able to take advantage of this particular convenience, even though it's not a requirement for our mobility in and out of spaces. Universal design is often aligned with these kinds of principles. So general standards 1 through 8 we've covered, and we'll move on to another section here with Kevin, and we'll wrap up my section with the next poll question. Are you interested in becoming a UNLV Quality Matters reviewer? This will engage you in discussions with your colleagues in and out of your unit, perhaps. Thank you. And with that, I'll turn it over to Kevin Wilcoxon.
Thank you, Rex. Okay, Rex has taken us through the standards that really are the core of the Quality Matters program. What we're going to do next is to pull back and look at the program from a broad perspective. So I'm going to use my little pointer here. So let's just briefly walk through this process here. So we begin with the faculty member and with his or her course and submits this for a Quality Matters review. There is a peer review process that I'm going to go into a little bit more. But essentially, after the peer review, the outcome then is feedback for the instructor with some recommendations and suggestions. And then, based upon that, the instructor, the designer, can make the revisions or maybe it meets expectations. And then the notion is that there's a continuous cycle, and these cycles can range from anywhere from, like, say, 2 years to 5 years. But the notion is that we don't stand in place. We continue to improve as, you know, as teaching technologies improve, as our subject matter changes, those kinds of things. Okay, the Quality Matters process itself can be formal or informal. Michael mentioned this. The formal reviews are coordinated by the Quality Matters organization, whereas the informal reviews are generally handled in-house. So the formal review is a voluntary process whereby we hook up with the national organization and they do the coordination, and we actually involve volunteers from other institutions. So that's the kind of a really a value added, and it takes us into a larger piece of the world, I guess. Most institutions, and in UNLV is going to be the same, we're going to be conducting an initial pilot program and then make decisions based upon what happens. In all cases, there's essential training, and this training is online, and it's reasonable, meaning it doesn't take an unreasonable amount of time to learn about how to go about these processes. So as a volunteer, you would be involved in this training. All right, who's involved in peer reviews? A peer review team consists of 3 people, and we need to meet these criteria amongst those 3 folks. So the main thing we're looking at is faculty who have some online teaching experience. We know that people who have not been exposed to teaching online like it a lot less, and I really do think it's just because they have not been exposed. They don't know what it's like, and so we're looking for those folks with online experience. Somebody within the team needs to be a subject matter expert, in other words, versed on the particular subject that's being reviewed. We also want non-SMEs so that we have that layman's perspective. And then the instructional designers also like to participate. And something that Quality Matters really emphasizes is, even though we have these different backgrounds, we want to review it from the student's perspective, because that's really what it's all about, is ease of use, effectiveness of learning, all those things. And we have to look at that from the student's perspective. Okay, now we want to look at the process itself. So I'm going to start over here in the green. Peer review process itself. So a faculty member has submitted his or her course for review. What happens first is we have a pre-review discussion where the faculty developer gets together and discusses the course with the review team. So this is the opportunity to talk about the particulars or overall strategy, what you're thinking. So this really is just a step to familiarize the team with the course before they go about their work. And then we move down here. Each individual team member then goes back to their offices or wherever, and then they review the course against the rubric on their own. And as they go through this, they do their own individual scoring. Comments and recommendations are highly encouraged. I think this is really the I guess the peer part of peer review. So they have a period of time to review this individually, and then the team gets together and works out their differences, I guess we could say, so that there's no confusion. Quality Matters says that the team comes up with a single score. We don't have a range of scores. We don't average the scores. We come up with a single score, and that, for instance, would be well, the X number of points per standard. There's no sliding scale. We do want to acknowledge certainly that many issues are quite minor, and they can be corrected, with typing a few words. So the notion of yes or no, is this standard met, is really just a black and white one. There's no shades of gray, even though we want to certainly acknowledge that the situation, there are many shades of gray. So the team then works these things out, and it's up to the team chair to compile this and then provide a final review report for the instructor designer. So they come back with a final score, recommendations. Certainly the recommendations can center around any shortcomings, but they can also offer whatever feedback and advice that you all feel appropriate, because these are your peers and maybe they have something to say. So, and then the notion here is, again, is that continuous quality improvement, and whatever that cycle may be, we can revisit, and obviously future reviews may take less time or they may not. It just depends on how things move. Okay. Alrighty. Quality Matters has a lot of resources available for us, and you don't need to be a member to get these resources. So we encourage you to check things out. There's not a lot of mystery to it. It's just understanding what's involved. And I hope you all agree with me that the standards really they're reasonable, they're common sense, and they really do help us focus on the important things that go towards student success. Okay, Michael, you want to...
Thank you, Kevin. Yes, absolutely. That was great.
Take it from here.
All right, we are coming to the end of our presentation here. We definitely invite everyone to become part of this process. We would like to work with you. There are ways to receive training so that you can go through the process of being certified. It's certainly something that is going to be valuable to everyone to have that certification. So definitely we're here and we would like to collaborate with you. At this time, does anybody have any questions? If you have any questions, go ahead and you can type them into the window down below, into the chat window, or raise your hand. We could pick on you either way. If you have a microphone, we can also give you the opportunity to speak at that point. So any questions? Gail, there are a number of different courses that faculty or anyone that wants to be involved go through. All of the instructional designers, for example, right here at the Office of Online Education are currently participating on some of these workshops. The first two are online entirely, and so there's the getting acquainted with the Quality Matters rubric is the first one, and you continue to progress through some of this training, and when you get to the higher levels of training, it involves actually participating in reviews. And we've actually begun to discuss with other members of the Nevada NSHE Consortium about how we can become part of their reviews so that we can get that experience. So I'd be happy to talk with you and anyone else that is interested in becoming certified for Quality Matters. Really, we would love to see that there is at least one faculty member from every area, from every discipline here on campus. As part of the formal process, we need to have a subject matter expert from every discipline. And so we encourage faculty to become part of it. There is a fee involved as far as taking some of these courses, and so we have to certainly find some sort of structure in which to cover those costs, and we're not quite sure. We'd certainly like to work with departments in terms of helping pay for some of those costs, but certainly the Office of Online Education is here to work with you. So if anyone is interested in learning more about that, Gail, I've written your name down. I noticed that, Tamara, you said you were interested. And anyone else that is interested in becoming part of this process and becoming trained and certified, please feel free to contact me. My email is michael.wilder@unlv.edu, and I'd be happy to share with you some of that information. Any other questions at this time?
Gail, I just wanted to emphasize that to become a peer reviewer, it's really just the beginning course, and then there's a peer review certification. So it's just 2 courses.
The question is, when will Quality Matters be implemented across campus? Our current plan is to begin training and to begin informal review starting almost immediately, especially during this transition to Blackboard Learn. It's a good opportunity to kind of take a step back and look at all of our courses and see what we need to become ready for formal review. So we're going to informally begin this process starting now and start working towards a more formal process, probably not for about 2 years down the line. To be honest, I think that we're just beginning this step. We are immediately beginning to implement this right now on campus and to begin the training and the informal review process. But formal review, I'm guessing, probably won't be in place for about another 2 years. So we're still working towards that. So thank you, Alice and Tamara. Other questions? I see that Elizabeth and Jennifer are writing. Great. If there are no more questions. Oh yes, Elizabeth's question is, will we get an email with a link to the recording? Yes, absolutely. That will, as soon as we close this session, again, go to your help window and log off the session. There will be a screen in just a second that shows you what to do. As soon as the session is completely over, you will receive in your email a link to this session. We'll also be archiving it and putting it up on the Office of Online Education website. Gail's question is, quality matters also related to assessment issues? Yes and no. You can see by the standards there that there is an element of that is related to assessment. Rex, you might have better insight into to what degree assessment is an element of quality matters. Rex, are you there? I'm guessing that Rex has stepped away, but Gail will get back to you with more information about how quality matters is relevant to assessment. Program assessment, no, I've not seen any element of quality matters be relevant to program assessment. Rex, please correct me if I'm wrong.
Are we asking about course evaluation? Because I'm not sure if that's the question, because I don't know that this would necessarily be tied into how the university as a whole would be doing course evaluation. Is that kind of what we're concerned about?
I believe that's what Gail is referring to, actual entire program review as opposed to course review. Quality matters is definitely more centered on course review, but certainly perhaps we can take a look at it as it may apply to program review. All right, great. At this time, I think that we are just about finished. So again, please feel free to contact any of us. We do have an evaluation. If you would, we would really appreciate your feedback in regards to how this webinar went and any suggestions for improvement. And again, we will be sending you a link in just a moment to this archive, and we will also at a later point be adding this to the online education website. So thank you very much. We really appreciate your participation, and feel free to contact us. Thank you so much.